Hello and welcome everybody. So my name is Michael Graf. I'm from the UI5 development team at SAP, and here on stage I have Emanuele Ricci.
Hi everyone, I come from Italy and I work for TechEdge, that is a worldwide company. We're going to show you this collaboration project.
Exactly. So the reason why we are two people here actually on stage is that we want to present you a really new, exciting community project where we help establish a custom control library, custom control repository. So what is it all about? UI5Lab, even the name has been chosen by the community, and it's a place where we can jointly work together, work out a way how we can share and connect on custom controls. Because the main issue with custom controls is that they're actually really hard to find. So UI5 is a great framework and great to extend. And the community is really active. So you see lots of blog posts, lots of cool demos everywhere on the internet. There's many, many different GitHub repositories showcasing technologies and different framework aspects that have been integrated into UI5. And also lots of custom controls that encapsulate different technologies. But those are all individual projects, and it's really hard if you want to make use of some of that in your own project. And so we thought it would be great to make use of all these projects and bring the people together. So our main mission in this project was, how can we create a place where custom UI assets can be shared and discussed? There's actually, if you take a look, there's actually two different personas that are involved in this process. There's one person that usually creates an asset for his project and wants to share it, or he's looking for contributors to make it even better, or people that make use of it in their projects and improve it for their reasons. And there's the app developer. He wants to create a new UI5 app, and he wants to use the UI5 controls developed by SAP, but he also wants to make use custom controls that have been created by the community. So he has kind of a best-of-breed application that uses community artifacts and UI5 artifacts. And for the moment, this was also only possible by copying the code into your project and adjusting it so that works technically. So with this new project called UI5Lab, basically we started with this mission and everything we have developed together with the community. So we had an open collaboration using Slack. We had an initial design thinking workshop, and we also tried some new things as SAP. So we streamed it with Periscope so that people on the internet can join in. Because we do not only have people from Germany working on it, we have also people like Emanuele from Italy. We have some people from Australia and from America that all are interested into the topic, but we cannot meet in person all the time. So we have established open collaboration with tools like Slack and GitHub and the usual tools that people use in open source projects. Also, we didn't want to be an SAP-driven agenda, so we wanted to have a community-driven process of discussions and to really establish standards that are important for the community. So we think it's really important that it's developed also outside and publicly, so that everybody can join in and bring in his opinion. And the third point that we have agreed on in this initial workshop is that it should be really easy to contribute. So there shouldn't be a big technical hurdle, and everybody that tries to improve this project is welcome to join in. And that's what we are also going to talk about today, is how you can help us making this even better. And to be fully aware of how it works, we want to give you a short demo of how it works. So as I said, we have these two different personas. And also this has been created by the community. It's our work in progress page. And we have basically these two different personas in the demo now. So the first part of the demo is done by Emanuele, who has developed a custom control, and he wants to show you the library project and how it can be made part of the UI5Lab prototype. So Emanuele, can you go ahead? Yep. Just going to quickly switch the cable.
HDMI. Here we go. Okay. Do you see something? No.
Takes a bit.
Duplicate. Fine. Here we go. So I created a custom control that is shipped with the library. and this is the final version of the library. This is the our npm project. That is the same on the GitHub. And I'm going to show you really fast, because we don't have a lot of time, to describe how a library is made and how to create custom controls. Anyway, I created a blog post that will describe in depth how to do them and how to use all the technology that are around, like Bower.js, Grunt.js, and so on. A library is made of custom controls and is described by some files. You have the .library, is an XML file that explain and describe the library and which are the dependencies of the library. You have the library.js, that is another file that also describes your library, but expose which are the dependencies, the types, the interface, and the controls that are exposed to other developers or to the framework by your library. Then you have the message bundle.properties that contains all your translations. In this case, we don't have any kind of translation. And then you have all your controls that are exposed and the render of your controls. In this case, we also have a third-party library, a JavaScript library, that you use to render the QR code. I'm going to show you the custom control really fast. This is our custom control. As you can see, in the define part, we are going to include the external library. This is QR code. As I said, it's a really simple control that is extended at sub.ui.core.control. And we are adding a bunch of metadata, a bunch of attributes, the properties that are used to customize the QR code, like the text, the color, the correctional level, and so on. In this case, we have no events, because we're not exposing any events, but we have an aggregation. Aggregation are really important because allow the developers to don't think about the life cycle of the aggregations, because the framework will take care about it. Every control has 4 lifecycle events: init, delete, on before rendering, and on after rendering. We are just overriding 2 of them. In the init one, we are going to set the aggregation, and we are plugging the canvas of the QR code inside this HTML control. And then we have the after rendering. After rendering is called after that the control is rendered. And in this case, we are going to check if the QR code is already been initialized or not. The QR code is the third-party library I was talking about before. Other than that, we have just getter and setter that are already created by the framework. The second part is the renderer. It's really simple in this case. We are going to extend the base renderer, and we are going to add custom CSS class and telling to the renderer to also render our control. After that, we are pretty much easy, and we are finished. We just need to use Grunt and a Grunt plugin that is called Grunt OpenY5 to package everything. Last but not the least, I want to talk about the index.json. This file is a description of your control and is used by our community project, that is a browser that is showing all these samples online. In this case, I'm just saying which is the name of my control, where I can find the documentation, the demo, and so on. The browser will parse all this information to show it in the sample page. If we have time, yes, I can show you how to push this library on npm, because after you have packed your library and created your library per load.js, you have to push it on npm. npm, if you don't know what it is a package resource where you can find pretty much everything online. This allows other developers to sync and download your library in their project very easily and integrate with other tools like Grunt, like Bower, and so on. So in your console, you have to previously create your user. I have already done it, so you just need to do the login. Okay, I've already created my control, so I don't need to do the npm publish, because this is not the first version. In this case, you have to do npm version patch. This will say to npm that we are going to patch our current version, and we'll add the final integer to the version. Okay, so we are 0.0.9, and you just need to do npm publish to publish it. Okay, this is our npm page. As you can see, we are at 0.0.8 version. If you refresh it, you can see the upgraded version. As I said, it's really important to publish on npm because it allows other developers to sync their application with this library as a dependency. And we can go back to show the demo page.
Sure. Okay, quick question in between. Who of you guys has built a custom controller before? Okay, that's quite some people. So now it gets really interesting, because now I want to use Emanuele's control in my application. And this is something that you usually had to do manually before. So basically, I have searched the standard UI5 documentation, and I want to use a QR code for my project. And I tried the export and the API reference, but I couldn't find anything in the standard controls shipped by SAP. So I've heard of this new project called UI5Lab. Oh, sorry. And we have some kind of browser or landing page for this project where you can find all the libraries that are published. And if we're lucky, we can find also Emanuele's library here. We also have some others. We have created an example library here called the geometry library. It's very simple. It's just showing that it's possible to do some custom sampling here. So for example, here this is also custom control that we ship as an example for this project. But we have also more sophisticated stuff in here, like for example a Google Maps integration wrapped into a UI5 control. So every project is independent, so the term repository is not really appropriate because we just have basically a bracket around these projects. Project itself is actually independent, and also the demos are part of the project and not of the UI5Lab. It's more about giving recommendations how to bring it all together. And Emanuele's library is also here. So it's here, this QR code library. And I can also go directly to his GitHub repository if I want to contribute to his project or if I want to find out more about it. In this case, I need the name of the npm package because we don't want to host all these packages. We want to use open source tools for this. So the packages itself, as Emanuele has shown, are located on npm. And basically, I just need the package name here, which is OpenUI5 QR code. And put it into my project. So, yep, just a second. I'm trying to switch. There we go. So this is a very simple application project. It can also be found on GitHub. I can share the link later. And basically, it has a package JSON. And here, I have referenced the OpenUI5 QR code because I want to use it. Then what happens when I do npm install here is basically the project is loaded into my node modules folder. Now, if you think about a web app, it is usually deployed to a server, and you only want to have the files that you need inside your project. So we have created a small configuration file here, which is called post install, which just copies the distribution folder that Emanuele has built from his project inside the application, basically. But then with the npm install, it's automatically put here. And as you can see here, it's in a third-party folder where his library is referenced. And the only thing I need to do now is inside my XML view, inside the application, I can use standard controls of UI5. As you can see here, there's progress indicators, there's different layouts and pages. But I have also referenced the XML namespace called lab here, and it's with the namespace of Emanuele's library. So if I would use different custom control libraries, I could also use different namespaces for this here. And then with this namespace, I'm just going to add here now the QR code control. And I'm a little bit too nervous to type everything, but just that you can see here. So here are the parameters of this control described, and I've prepared a little example so that you can see how it works. So basically, this is just an XML representation of this QR code, and I want to create a QR code for the project so that you can go to the project by yourself too. So basically, I put this now inside my application. And this is a very simple example, so we can do a more sophisticated one later, but this doesn't have a web server or anything. So my IDE has this smart feature here where I can just create on the fly a local web server. And this is basically a showcase for this control. And hopefully, if I click on this button, I will now see Emanuele's QR code control.
Okay.
So there we go. Very simple example, but it's now a combination of standard UI5 controls with custom controls, published by NPM and also consumed in a very simple way. And by establishing this whole process together with the community, I think we found a great way to make such collaboration work and to have a vibrant exchange of these artifacts in the future. And this is all in the prototype phase so far. I can show you quickly where we are with this project at the moment. So everything that you have seen so far should be reflected on the screen. So the left side was Emanuele's part with the library project. It is set up according to some best practices that we have implemented at SAP. So it has this build process, it has the library structure and everything. But then on the other hand, the consumption in the app and how to publish it, this was part of the research of this project, and this is where we are still working on. So basically, we have this public registry where the packages lie, here in the middle, and we have these application projects that can consume it over NPM. And as you can see, actually the artifacts of these projects are all in this green circle here, because we don't really host the packages, we just provide documentation and best practices how they are set up. And the only thing that we really host is the central browser where everything comes together so that you can search and find the projects. Because the NPM registry also has a search, but it's kind of a multi-purpose platform for all kinds of artifacts. And we want to really have this UI5 showcase here featuring certain stuff here on this application. And that's where it comes all together. And yeah, so this is the scope of this project. All right. So how can you contribute? Because the session is actually called Contributors Wanted. And we are really open in this project. So if you have new ideas, you're very welcome to join in. If you have your own controls that you want to list here, you're also very welcome to do so. And if you want to use such artifacts, then I think it should also be very, very welcome. So there's different ways what you can do. So the easiest one is just to join the Slack chat and discuss with us what we should do next and bring your ideas in. There's almost 1,000 messages already, so we have announced this at UI5con in March that we want to work together with the community on this, and since then there's been a lot of active discussions about it. You can help contributing code, for example, in this browser application or in the library projects, or by just making our examples better and more flexible. And you can also publish your own projects with this way, so that they can be listed here in this project. And of course, you can also help us organizing. We have Trello boards that are public, and there the next tasks should be listed also, and you can also bring in your ideas. So I hope after this presentation, we see more people joining in, because we have a lot of things planned. Let me quickly wrap this up by showing you what's planned next. So we have this Trello board where I have all the tasks listed, but I try to extract the most important ones, which is to find really a core contributor team, because currently we have people helping us making it work, but we want really to be governed as a community, and then we need some kind of core contributor team. We want to fine-tune this prototype that we have shown today a little bit more to make it more robust and stable, and also to remove some technical issues still. We want to definitely list more projects there, and also maybe your projects would be nice to show there. And we want to have templates and documentation so that it's even easier to get into this project and to make it work. So, and everything else is pretty much up to the project. So we think that it should be an open discussion in which way this evolves. But it's a good starting point, and I'm really happy to showcase it here on UI5con together with Emanuele. So thanks a lot. And actually, thanks a lot again, because there were a lot more people involved than us too.
Yeah.
And they are listed here on the slide. Those are the guys from the Slack chat, and there's also some people here in the room that helped us making it work. For example, Holger and Navi. But there's many people that have made this work. And I hope that we can find some more among you too. So thanks.
Thank you very much.